Welcome back, everybody. Tuesday morning, getting ahead of myself. Edition of Hot Mike rolls on. We got plenty of upcoming sports to tell you about. We're televising. We got game tonight, high school game of the week in soccer. We'll have our first Bison broadcast coming up on Thursday. We've got our first high school football games as well on Friday. Can't be more excited about that. We'll give you all the details before we say goodbye on this Tuesday. One of those games involves the Bismarck Demons as they'll open up 2024 on the eastern side of the state, which I'm sure our next guest loves that, as Bismarck will take on Fargo North to open up 2024. And we do this every year. It's customary, and usually it is well watched or played back simply because everyone wants to hear what our next guest has to say. The longtime state champion head coach at Bismarck, Mr. Mark Gibson, joins us. How you been, Gibby? You look great.
I'm doing great. I'm doing super. You look good too. You got a little bit of tan going.
A little bit. My son has got me out in the sun, so that's the deal. It's great to see you. I know you're already agitated. You got to play a game in week 0, but tell me how camp has gone so far.
Well, we got a long way to go. I mean, we're still ironing some things out, and like you and I talked about off air, is the nice thing about the schedule this year is that we're back to somewhat of a normal schedule. There's a lot of non-conference games, yes, and I know some of the Eastern guys aren't excited about that, but I think the nice thing for us is that you get to play a lot of kids, you get to put a lot of kids in, and I don't want to say it's a meaningless game, but it's a game where we're going to get to play a lot of guys and see what they're going to be like on a Friday night, and we're going to have some fresh faces. We got some guys returning, but we got a lot of new faces moving in, and so. With that, we're going to swap guys out at some critical positions, a quarterback and some running back, and so we're going to see what they're made of on a game situation, and I'm sure that just like every other coach, we're excited to see what we got.
How much did you enjoy last year after what happened in 22 to have the kind of year where people are accustomed to what you did last season? Did you need that for yourself personally?
Yes. There's things where I think we talked about it a little bit last year. You doubt what you're doing. You doubt there's a lot of doubt. And the first thing is you start within yourself and look within what you're doing. And, I think some things looking back, we tried so many different things that we didn't do anything well.
Mm.
And so that was one thing that we talked about as a staff is I think you got to hang your hat on something offensively. And I think you got to hang your hat on something defensively rather than just mumbo jumbo, which was basically what it was. And I think there was nothing concrete that we did well. And, I think, we're playing some kids that probably weren't ready to play, and that was evident. And, but the one underlying factor was that we had a great senior class last year. Those kids took it to heart that, they were going to have a repeat performance. And unfortunately, those guys all graduated, so we're starting kind of over. And hopefully, these guys have kind of learned a little bit what it takes, and that's the key to being successful year in and year out.
Well, you got a stud. We met Jack Schaefer this spring, Gibby, before everything blew up for him, before he committed to Iowa State. Tell me about Jack and developing him and seeing him early on to the player he's become now.
Well, he's been some growing pains along the way, and he's still got some ways to go. And matter of fact, I think the one thing Jack will probably tell you, I'm harder on him than anybody. And, I just think that our job as coaches is to try to tap their best potential. And, the sky's the limit for him. And, basically told him to quit reading about his press clippings and let's focus a little bit on what we need to do here. And he got that message loud and clear yesterday in film. We had a scrimmage Saturday. And so, he's got some work to do, but he works at it, and that's the one thing that your good players are going to do. They're going to take it to heart, and they're going to try to get better each week. And I think those are some things that he's learning, and along the lines of his maturity with Jack is getting better, and those things are coming. The one thing that we had a really, really bad practice, not just one, but one of the bad practices we had. He kind of went personally through the huddle and was real positive with kids. And that's what I told him is that, we'll be the guys that criticize, you be the guy that kind of picks them up. And so he's kind of taken that leadership role on. And I think that, that he's not the only one. Damian Halstead was returns on guard and Sam Larson. And those are all three of those kids have been through it for 3 years now. And my one goal, Dom, that before I retired, and so maybe this is the higher ups telling me something, but I always wanted to walk in an offensive huddle and look up at my offensive lineman, and I finally get to do that. So maybe this is it. Maybe this is the swan song. I don't know, but
You,
they're all seniors, and uh, everything kind of goes to those kids, and they've worked hard for this. So hopefully we carry over.
you have giants up there, and their experience. That goes a long way. You know that. And if you want to win, you got to have experience up front. You have that. So you got to feel good about that for starting the year.
We do, and we knew that going in, and the key for us now is to kind of build around those
Yeah.
guys. The other key, and I'm sure every coach that you're going to have on here is going to say the same thing. We need to stay healthy,
Mm-hmm.
and that's the one nice thing for preseason is we're going to get to be able to sort of throw some different kids in to create some depth because this is a grind of a season, and certainly where you start week one, the same starters aren't the same guys starting week 9 or 10, and so that's the one thing that we understand, and I hope our kids understand because. Those guys are very valuable, but unfortunately, we play a sport where you're going to have injuries and things like that. So it all kind of comes together and how you can gel together. And, we lost a senior lineman due to training violations about midway through last year that killed us.
Mm.
We weren't the same up front without him. And so that's just one piece of the puzzle. Unfortunately, that happens to us, and hopefully that doesn't happen again.
Tell me about the level of football in Bismarck, Mandan right now. How good is it in your estimation?
Well, I think you look overall the history and what's been developed. I think some things as far as um, it's just been become more of a senior dominated league, and it's a lot of seniors playing each year, and so a lot of guys, new faces coming in playing for the first time. You look at Legacy; they graduated. They had a tough season, but they graduated 30 seniors somewhere around there, and
Mm.
so it's kind of a crew coming in. I think of all the schools in Bismarck area, we probably have the least amount of kids. It's just the way it is, and I think it's just our clientele is not maybe sports related type kids that come out, and it's something that we're working on, and we're trying to get kids involved and get kids out. Nobody wants to sit there and practice and not play a game,
Yep.
and I get that, and I think we start that in our younger grades is that we try to get kids involved on both sides of football, and we want them to get to playing time, and that's the most important thing I stress to our JV and freshman coaches that rather than wins and losses, it's about getting kids on the field, and I think that's important, and I think all of our programs do the same thing, and certainly now with Minot, with the success they've had, and obviously I think everybody's looking at him as the odds-on favorite. He does a good job, and he's kind of taken that and ran with it. His kids do a really outstanding job of playing hard, and I think it's something that the eastern half, I would say, Dom, the past few years, though, top to bottom, has been way better in the West.
Mm.
And it was when the schedule that we went through playing, I think our kids kind of eye-opening experience of what it's going to take to advance in the playoffs and things like that, because it's going to go through those guys.
Did I see this right though? You only have one trip east. Did we finally rectify that? You have
For,
two?
for for some reason, I'm going to Fargo Shanley for the 10th year in a row. I don't know how Matter works that. I don't know if he's part of the committee or how he's got friends on there. But we're coming back to Shanley again, and I told him we might as well just build a locker room since we're there so many damn times. I
But
guess I can't say damn to the public here with my bad. Sorry.
but you have it's not four like you had. I know Shanley went 4 times west, so at least we're making some headway, right?
I think we're making a lot of headway.
Okay.
I think I know what's coming down next or what's coming down the pike next. And we've talked about this countless times.
Yes.
And like I told you off air, I think, we're taking some bullets for this, but I think some things that some of those places don't understand is I get a lot of compliments from lower down divisions because it's a trickle down.
Yep.
It is. And you're hurting programs. You're helping a handful of programs, no doubt. And I'm not going to go by names. I think we all know they are. Their programs were I want to say shambles, but it was tough for them to compete.
Yep.
And now you've kind of developed those programs, um, but you've also hurt a lot of teams on the way down, and that goes all the way down to a 9-man.
Yep.
And I think it's a unfortunate thing that we're in. I don't know if we have the exact solutions, but I do think we're taking steps in the positive direction. And I thank God we got rid of that stupid point system. And
Yeah.
that thing, that was looking back at a year ago. We go out to Cheyenne, which is not an easy place to play. We play a very good football team, and we win on their place. And now I got to tell my kids that that game was basically meaningless after it was all said and done.
Yeah.
It was. We could have went on and played our JVs, got beat 70-0. We still would have been in the 4th seed. And so those things really bug me, and that still does. And I'll take that to my grave.
Yep.
And it just doesn't make sense, but it is what it is. We played it out. Hopefully, we've kind of learned that it wasn't a good system, and hopefully we go back to something that makes a lot more sense.
Is it trending, Gibby, in a way to get a 2-year plan? That's what I keep hearing. Is that on the horizon for football?
I'm hearing that too. I'm hoping so. I don't know where it's going to end up. The one thing, and Fargo North is in the situation, and I don't know anything about North, but you take North, for example, they were down in numbers and things like that. They bring their numbers up. They have a great year. They win a state championship, but those kids all graduate.
Yep.
And now you move them up with a whole different group of kids. It just doesn't make sense. And I think we're shooting ourselves in the foot by always rotating schedules, always doing different things. And you're going to kill the sport. I've said that from day one, because now you don't have your traditional rivalries. You're traveling all over the place. I just don't understand it. And I don't know, we've talked about, is it to go to the Dakota Bowl, or is it to make the playoffs? Because if it's to make the playoffs, let's take more teams to playoffs. Let's figure out something where we can go back to a little bit of what we used to be with the bigger schools and take more teams,
Yep.
playoffs, things like that. But I think it really needs to be ironed out a little bit better. But certainly this year, I think it's a step in the right direction.
Well, and I'm of the mindset, I think you probably agree, we're not that far away from West Fargo, Horace, and Minot North joining your division, that we're going to have 2 more in the top. Then we got to figure this out. If we're going to have 2 more, then this got to get rectified ASAP.
Correct. And I think, like I said at the very beginning, is other teams are suffering because of us.
Yeah.
And I think you hear that from the 9-man guys, you hear that from the A guys and things like that, because some of those A teams don't want to move up because they're going to go play, they're going to play a much larger school, traditional AAA school. And, so now you're hurting those programs just to rectify some problems with some few programs.
Well, like in arts, and then we got to roll here, and I knew we were going to do this, but like last year, Davies
That's your fault. That's not my fault. It's your fault.
Last year, like Davies didn't play North. Like, you're in the same city. I don't understand how I get there on 2 separate, but that they should play. Like you guys not play Legacy, or you'll play like that would never happen, or Mandan. I know that didn't happen. How is that allowed?
Yeah. Legacy and Mandan didn't play each other the last 2 years. I mean, that makes no sense. And and like I said, hopefully we're making headway.
Yeah.
We're back to somewhat normal. We're playing a Western Conference. All of our Western teams,
Yep.
They're playing all their Eastern teams. Just so happens that we have more West teams. And I do like the bye week. We have a bye week. I know some people are not in favor of that. I think it's great. And I understand that everybody's got a different time frame, but I think you got to schedule that in as far as how you make a overall schedule with your kids. But I think it's good for us just to kind of kick back a little bit, go back to little basics, things like that.
It's great to see you, bud. Thanks so much for the time, as always. Have a great start to the year. We'll catch up down the road, all right?
Sounds good. You take care, my man.
Mark Gibson, state champion head coach of the Bismarck Demons. They open up the season coming up on Friday night. They'll be here in town as Fargo North makes its return to 3A football after the last couple sojourn years in AA, where they had, of course, great success. They're the reigning champs of 2A, but moved up, and that'll be the way to kick off the high school football season on Friday night. We'll take our final break. We'll come back. We'll get you updated on all of the live sports we got coming up over the next few days, and we'll say goodbye. Hot Mike will wrap right after this on WDAY Extra, KSFL TV, and Inforum.com.